Hello there everyone. Thank you for tuning into Stimulus Check Updates. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Also, stay to the end of the video to make sure you get all the latest news on your stimulus checks. So, today Pelosi calls for bill to fund restaurants, airlines, unemployment, and stimulus checks. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Thursday called on leaders in her caucus to put together a new stimulus bill that would offer aid to restaurants and airlines, fund another round of unemployment benefits, and send a second stimulus check to millions of Americans. According to the Washington Post, the new legislation would cost $2.4 trillion, down from the $3.4 trillion HEROES bill passed by the House in April, but still topping the $2.2 trillion aid package the Speaker tried to negotiate in late August. Talks ended on that plan when both Democrats and Republicans left the bargaining table, after the GOP said that package was too costly. "We are still striving for an agreement," Pelosi said, in a Democratic leadership meeting held this week. Also, in addition to unemployment, help for airlines and restaurants, and stimulus checks, the legislation is likely to include aid to local and state governments, a sticking point for Republicans, money for small businesses, rental assistance, and funds for election security and the U.S. Postal Service. While the moderate Democrats have urged Pelosi in recent weeks to resume negotiations for a stimulus bill over fears that their chances for re-election could be damaged. The bill would help struggling Americans contend with the continuing consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the story in the Post, Representative Cindy Axon, who flipped a GOP seat in her district, is sending Pelosi a letter that says, in part, "We write to you now to implore you to bring a revised and streamlined COVID-19 relief package to the floor next week. Americans are counting on us, they cannot wait any longer." Also, Pelosi had been negotiating another stimulus plan with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Talks for another round of relief broke down in August when Democrats presented a $2.2 trillion stimulus bill in response to a $1.6 trillion bill from Republicans. While Mnuchin, in testimony before Congress this week, said he was ready to continue working on a bill to fund relief measures for Americans suffering through 6.5 months of the COVID-19 pandemic. "I do think we need comprehensive relief," Mnuchin testified Thursday before the Senate Banking Committee. "I'm available anytime." When asked by reporters about Pelosi's bill, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy dismissed the plan as politics. "It shows again she's not serious about getting a COVID relief bill, that she's just playing politics," said House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, "and what's really sad about this is it's really hurting the American public." While Congress is set to adjourn at the end of next week to return to home districts to campaign, they could return to Washington to vote on a stimulus bill, however. Second stimulus package. So, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi indicated on Thursday that Democrats will draft a new coronavirus relief bill and look to bring it for a vote before October 2, when the House is scheduled to recess. Pelosi has designated Richard Neal, who heads the Ways and Means Committee, to lead the new effort. Neal estimated that the new package will be in the range of $2.20 trillion. The Ways and Means Committee wrote most of it to begin with. "So we're just going to revisit a lot of it," Neal said. The potential $2.2 trillion bill would be lower than the $3.4 trillion HEROES Act, which the House passed in May, but is roughly in line with what Pelosi had previously offered to Republicans, futilely trying to convince them to come up from the $1 trillion HEALS Act the Senate had proposed. "We are still striving for an agreement," Pelosi told her leadership team, according to Politico. "If necessary, we can formalize the request by voting on it on the House floor." The new bill comes as Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and Pelosi have agreed to restart talks about a second stimulus bill. "I've probably spoken to Speaker Pelosi 15 or 20 times in the last few days on the continuing resolution," Mnuchin told the Senate Banking Committee, "and we've agreed to continue to have discussions about the CARES Act." Negotiations have stalled for months. Republicans delayed releasing a proposal following passage of the House's HEROES Act. Their original plan, the HEALS Act, did not even make it to the Senate floor for a vote as various factions balked at the bill, including fiscal conservatives worried about adding to the national debt. More recently, Senate Republicans unveiled a so-called skinny bill that helped to coalesce Republicans, but brought their $1 trillion proposal down to $300 to $500 billion. Democrats dismissed the skinny bill, with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer calling it an emaciated Republican COVID proposal that fails to meet the needs of the American people. The bill garnered 52 votes, but failed to advance in the Senate. It is unclear what provisions the new Democratic stimulus bill would contain, but if it comes in at the roughly $2.2 trillion estimate, it will likely receive a lukewarm reception from Republicans. Early reads indicate that the package will include stimulus checks, small business aid, funding for cities and states, as well as additional unemployment and rental assistance, according to the Washington Post. The new bill may help by making another proposal, announced by the Problem Solvers Caucus, more palatable for both sides. The bipartisan group of House members had recently unveiled a $1.5 trillion stimulus package meant to break the protracted negotiations stalemate. That proposal received support from the White House, with Mark Meadows indicating that it was higher than Republicans prefer. It was not a showstopper at this point. The renewed energy around passing a bill comes amid growing outcry from representatives about the negotiations' impasse and failure to pass additional aid for millions of Americans. I'd be very uncomfortable going home without sending more relief to my constituents, for small businesses or parents with children who are trying to go to school, or state and local governments. The post office needs help, frontline workers need help, Representative Madeleine Dean. Another representative, Derek Kilmer, echoes Dean's sentiments, saying, "A lot of our members are eager to have the House move forward on something that can help our constituents." For Democrats, there may be upside in merely signaling an updated desire to help and putting the pressure back on Republicans. It should send a signal to the public as to where we are, and it's more recent than the HEROES Act, said Representative Pete Aguilar. All in all, even if the House passed a new stimulus package, it will still require negotiation with Republicans to agree to a bipartisan proposal that both the House and the Senate could advance. While the renewed activity is promising, there is also the potential for negotiations to stall again, depriving millions of Americans and small businesses from receiving additional relief. And that's all the news for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are staying safe out there and staying strong during these troubling times. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like and comment down below. I'll catch you next time on Stimulus Check Updates.